Stop measuring your faithfulness by the size of the crowd standing with you. That is not a biblical metric. It has never been God's operating principle. Romans 11:5 says this plainly. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. Not a movement, not a majority. A remnant chosen not by numbers, not by cultural influence, not by institutional size, but by grace. If you are holding the line in a season where almost no one is holding it with you, this series was built for you. We are going to trace the biblical remnant from Genesis to Revelation across 20 episodes, and by the time we are done, you will understand exactly what you are, why God preserved you, and what He requires from you now. Before we build the theology, 3 actions this series requires of you. Root your identity in grace, not performance. The remnant is never defined as the people who tried the hardest, prayed the longest, or built the largest following. It is defined as the people God chose to preserve. Romans 11:5 makes this unmistakable. The remnant is chosen by grace, and if by grace, then not by works. If it were by works, grace would no longer be grace. Your survival in the faith is not a testimony to your superior willpower. It is a testimony to His sovereign choice. Root yourself in that, not as license for passivity, but as the only foundation that holds when the culture turns hostile and the crowd thins out. Resist the false theology that says God works through majorities. He does not. He has never needed a crowd to accomplish His covenant purposes. He needed 8 people in Genesis 6. He needed 2 men, Caleb and Joshua, out of 600,000 fighting men in Numbers 14. He needed 11 frightened disciples in Acts 1. He always needed a remnant, and the remnant was always far smaller than the surrounding world expected. The pressure you feel to build something large, to reach certain numbers, to earn platform validation before your faithfulness counts, resist that framework. It is not in the text. Rebuild your definition of what faithfulness looks like. Revelation 12:17 gives us the final portrait of the end times remnant in 2 markers. They keep the commandments of God, and they hold to the testimony of Jesus Christ. Not platform reach, not institutional affiliation, not cultural dominance. 2 things: faithfulness to the Word, and the testimony of the risen Christ, the only standard this series will apply. When the world before Noah reached complete moral saturation, every inclination of every human heart, only evil continually. Noah did not have a strategy, a platform, or a theological movement behind him. He had a covenant with a God who had already decided to preserve a remnant through the coming judgment. That covenant, and nothing else, is what placed 8 people on the right side of the flood. That theological conviction is what we study in this series. The main theme we are going to prove across 20 episodes and 600 chapters of Scripture is this: God has never worked through the majority. He has always preserved a remnant small, grace-chosen, and carrying the entire future of His redemptive purpose inside it. The Apostle Paul understood this better than almost anyone in the New Testament. In Romans chapter 11, he is wrestling with a question that is tearing him apart. Has God rejected Israel? His own people have largely rejected their Messiah, and the temptation is to conclude that God has abandoned the covenant He made with Abraham. Paul's answer is not a lament. It is an argument, and it is built entirely on the doctrine of the remnant. Romans 11:1-5. I ask then, did God reject His people? By no means. I am an Israelite myself, a descendant of Abraham, from the tribe of Benjamin. God did not reject His people, whom He foreknew. Don't you know what the Scripture says about Elijah, how he appealed to God against Israel? Lord, they have killed your prophets and demolished your altars. I am the only one left, and they are trying to kill me too. And what was God's reply to him? I have reserved for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. And if by grace, then it is no longer by works. If it were, grace would no longer be grace. The Hebrew key term embedded in this entire argument is erit. The Hebrew characters are shin, aleph, resh, yod, tav, written as sheheh, wreath. The literal meaning is remainder, the surviving portion, what is left after devastation or refining. But before erit was theological language, it was agricultural. In the ancient Near East, the erit was the seed portion, the small fraction of the harvest the farmer deliberately held back. He did not sell it. He did not consume it. He stored it, protected it, and set it apart because everything that would grow next season depended on it. You could look at that handful of seeds sitting in the storehouse and see almost nothing compared to what had been harvested. But that fraction contained within it the entire next harvest. The erit was not the leftover. It was the life-carrying portion. When God looks at his remnant, whether 8 people in an ark, 7,000 in Israel, or 11 disciples in an upper room, he does not see a remnant of something that failed. He sees the seed of everything that is coming next. This pattern runs from the first judgment in Scripture to the last. Genesis 7:1. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Enter the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation." 8 people, the entire human future, the covenant promise, the messianic line, the redemption of every nation on earth was carried inside a boat by 8 souls, while the rest of the world was covered in water. That is the remnant doctrine at its most foundational. God did not save the majority. He saved the erit. Isaiah 10:22. Though your people, Israel, be like the sand of the sea, only a remnant will return. Destruction has been decreed, overwhelming and righteous. Isaiah writes this in the 8th century before Christ, while the Assyrian army is on the march. Israel has population. Israel has cities and soldiers. And God says none of that determines the outcome. A remnant will return. The size of the crowd never determined the covenant. The faithfulness of the remnant always did. And Revelation 12:17 closes the canon on this theme. And the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, those who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. At the end of history, Satan does not declare war on governments or armies or cultural institutions. He makes war specifically on the remnant, which tells you exactly who the remnant is. They are the ones whose faithfulness poses a direct enough threat to the enemy's kingdom that he goes to war against them personally. The theological principle running through every one of these texts is what we call the doctrine of divine remnant preservation. It states this: God never allows the line of covenant faith to be entirely extinguished. In every generation, in every crisis, in every moment of total cultural collapse, he preserves a erit. Not because they earned it, not because they found each other, because he decided to preserve them. And his decisions do not require the cooperation of the surrounding culture. Now the 3 steps with their anchors. Root your identity in grace, not in what you have produced. Romans 11:5 is the anchor. If by grace, then not by works. This is not passive theology. It is the most stabilizing truth in the Bible for those who are holding the line without a crowd. When you know that your place in the remnant is entirely God's doing and not your own achievement, you stop collapsing every time the numbers go down. Your foundation does not depend on external validation. Root yourself there. Resist the majority theology, and resist it from the text. Isaiah 10:22 is your weapon. Though your people be like the sand of the sea, only a remnant will return. Large numbers never secured the covenant. Majority presence never guaranteed covenant faithfulness. The remnant's conviction always did. Every time you feel pressure to build something bigger before your obedience counts, bring it back to this verse. The sand of the sea was never the point. The remnant was always the point. Rebuild your definition of faithfulness to match Revelation 12:17. 2 markers. Keep the commandments of God. Hold to the testimony of Jesus. Not institutional size. Not cultural momentum. Not how many people follow you. 2 things, the word and the testimony. If those two are intact, you are functioning as the remnant regardless of what the surrounding culture says about your relevance. Noah built the ark before a single drop of rain had fallen, while the entire watching world considered him the least relevant person alive. He held the conviction. He obeyed the command. Elijah lay under a juniper tree, convinced he was the last faithful man in Israel, while 7,000 people he had never met were holding the same conviction in the same hostile culture without knowing about each other. They held it. They never bowed. God knew every one of them by name. Now, it is your turn. Romans 11-5 opens this series and will close it. So too, at the present time there is a remnant chosen by grace. You are not alone. You are not the last one. You are erit, the life-carrying portion. The seed grain set apart by a God whose purposes always survive the generation that tries to bury them. Subscribe and stay in this series. 20 episodes. Genesis to Revelation. A complete theology of the remnant built for the people who are still standing. And tell us in the comments of the remnant figures we introduced today. Noah, Abraham, Elijah, and the 7,000. Which one do you most identify with right now? Not who you want to be, who you actually are in this season. Drop it below.